first, let's start with a few places, okay? Again, the LAPD has been called out. They're saying it looks like there's covering up. Stephen Fisher, the lead investigator on this, seems to be moving weird, and he has been called into question. We need to actually give a shout out to RIA, that is the Reddit investigative agency authority. They are doing God's work, and they seem to be getting more done than the actual LAPD. We're also going to talk about the way the medical coroner is going to war with the LAPD right now, because they are hinting that the LAPD is implied in some sort of cover up. You guys, let's get into this. All right. Now, first of all, where do we actually start? Okay. First of all, let's talk about where we are with I have something to show you guys. Okay. So this gentleman is before I show you guys, this guy is Mr. I want to get his name. It's Matthew, of course, but I want to get his name right, just to make sure. Till Badu, he's on Twitter and on Instagram. He posted a very, very, very interesting thread that I think you guys need to see. Let me put the video up, and then we can talk about this. Okay, hold on. Let's put the video up.
Morning, guys. So last night I made a video talking about the freezer that is in the background of one of David's YT shorts from September of 2024. We were able to find out where this studio/residence is located and people who are associated and who have been in this residence/studio along with David, one of which is a producer that David has worked with in the past, Andrew Luce. This morning, Andrew sent me a message, and he thankfully has provided clarity pertaining to the specific freezer in the background of one of David's videos. He says, the latest video you posted of the freezer is from the entryway of my studio. My girlfriend had an obsession with Dippin' Dots, which need a very cold freezer to keep their shape, and I thought it would be a sweet and funny gift to get her a sub-zero fridge so that she could enjoy more Dippin' Dots. He says that there's no connection here. He said that prior to David filming this video with the freezer in the background, that freezer had been sitting there for about 6 months because that was a gift that he had given his girlfriend for Valentine's Day in 2024. He said that the freezer was purchased well before he and Brian Barnes ever even met David. He even said that the freezer is still sitting in the same exact spot as it was in this video in September of 2024 because it's super heavy and he and his girlfriend have not figured out a place to put it. So this specific freezer right here, unrelated, still unopened, still sitting in the same spot. So hopefully that provides some clarity for you all. Hope you guys have a great day, and I will talk to you guys as soon as anything else comes out. Morning, guys. So last night,
okay, so pause right there because there's a part 2 to this. If you guys don't know what we're talking about, everybody said there was a freezer in the rental property, the $8,000 a month property that David first lived in before he moved into the actual mansion. People thought that freezer, for whatever reason, might have been the freezer that held Celeste. Now, somebody, as you've heard, that associated with David said, no. It's the wrong freezer. We used it for Dipping Dots, this, that, and the third. Now, we don't know the validity of that. But again, this young man, whose name is Matt Tiboldu, Tibodeau. He is on Twitter. He is really breaking things down. He is literally going in and saying that TMZ got it wrong and that a lot of people got it wrong. Not saying that there's nothing there, but he's saying that a lot of people got it wrong, including Stephen Fisher. We will get into that beef in a second. When I say beef, in full thing, Stephen Fisher and this guy, Matt, do have an issue with each other. But we'll talk about that later. Okay, let's get into this.
All right, guys. So is TMZ's source an actual credible source close to LAPD?
Now, pause. I do have to say for the record, and I'll give you a reason why, I do believe that TMZ's source is credible. And what's more, I think that TMZ's source is somebody in the medical examiner's office. The medical examiner, when they got that gag order that they couldn't release any public information about Celeste, the medical examiner was quick to say, this is an abomination. this can't happen. This, that, and a third. They said they have never seen this happen. They have had even more high-profile cases. I will say, and I've said this from the beginning, something is rotten, right, in the city of Townsville. Why? Because why has the LAPD been giving David alibis before they even talk to the man? They've been giving this man alibis and making up what if scenarios. Now, again, this is what the defense says to me in court. Well, like when you look at, what did Matt post? Hold on. Illy Lily from Philly actually did a good point. She said, right? It's literally insane for the police to be the ones to give the murder suspects an alternate theory. Like it wasn't David's people saying this stuff. It was literally LAPD offering that insane, nonsensical excuse for why a dead body could be in your trunk and that not be a murder victim. And I don't doubt for a second that if toxology came back saying she died of an OD, they would have immediately publicized the report. Like the theory of, I didn't murder my underage girlfriend. I just dismembered her body. I put her in a trunk and I flew to Europe to happily perform in my murder-themed tour. Again, she said, I would have expected that to be argued in court by defense lawyers. But of course, the court still would have found you guilty. But it's the LAPD who's trying to find loopholes on behalf of a murder suspect for why he shouldn't be charged. And I would like to say, no matter what you think is going on, whether or not you believe he needs to be charged, why have they not even questioned him? The LAPD did say that he was supposed to be questioned. Okay. Then, and this is the whole reason why I think that TMZ has somebody in the corner leaking. Before we listen to this video, hear me out. Okay. First of all, when the story first broke about her being frozen and all this stuff in Santa Barbara, that was the same day the LAPD went to the medical examiner's office and said, yo, lock this case down. Don't share any information. The coroner was like, no, like that's not what we do. We give the information to the public because if you guys haven't even found a suspect to interview, we need the public to get involved because somebody might know something. And if we release the cause and manner of death, sometimes that lets people come forward that might not put clues together, but they suddenly clues together. Again, the coroner looked at LAPD and said, you guys haven't even interviewed anybody. You don't even have a suspect. No, we're not doing this. And again, they've done super high profile cases, like super uber. It's LA. High profile cases. They said, we've never had to do this. We're not doing it. Okay. That same day that the LAPD was like, yo, lock this down. TMZ leaked all that information about Santa Barbara. She was actually dismembered. She was frozen, all this stuff. Now, what changed? TMZ then said, yo, a report's going to be ready very soon. And as soon as the report was ready, that's when the LAPD went to the judge and said, no, there needs to be a gag order. I believe the LAPD suspects that the leak is coming from the medical examiner office. Now, before we get into this young gentleman, let me tell you my other theory, okay? Since we're talking. The whole thing about whether she was frozen or not, and people being like, it's a lie. She's not frozen. Because I find it odd that the police locked down all the coroner reports. They were telling us before they even had the report, it's an OD. It's an OD. Who knows if the crime was committed? We think it's an OD. You were saying this before you even had the coroner results. You locked down the report because you said you didn't want things leaked about the report. And then they proceeded to go to People magazine to tell us what they know, but they won't release the report. Now you can argue they're on some Matlock stuff and they're trying to mislead the killer and trap David. But even somebody that just watched, watched Paw Patrol would know that a suspect is supposed to be questioned. And even if David is not cooperating, you can still pull him in for questioning. You did not pull him in and ever make him sit down for questioning. Now he can come in and say, I plead the fifth. Where's my lawyer? But how can you truly say someone's not cooperating when you never even requested a formal interview? You never even requested formal questioning. You never even brought him in on suspicion, just a question. Okay. Now, why do I think it's the coroner's office? Again, let me cook. I'm almost done. Getting back to this. Why do I think it's the coroner's office? Because one, TMZ got that big leak. The coroner was about to release a report. LAPD put a gag order on the coroner's office, I think they think that the coroner was talking to TMZ too, okay? Why is some of the evidence? One, first the police tried to say she wasn't dismembered. Okay, but the police even said that she was 71 pounds in the car. Unless she was tortured and starved to death, 71 pounds for a 5'2" little girl who is 5'2" and 71 pounds, that is literally something out of The Purge or Saw. No. Second of all, the Tesla front trunk is very small. There's no way a 5'2" person can be put in there unless it is chopped, right? On top of that, when you get information, and I go through this a lot, when you get information from sources, not only are you sharing the information with the public, but you kind of have to protect your source. Meaning, if someone told me, yo, I know for a fact that they robbed a bank, Tisa, and they were wearing a blue shirt, and it was on Monday, and they walked in and said, yo, put your hands up. And then they just started, just making that chopper sing, right? If I have to protect my sources saying, I don't just come out and tell you guys everything I know. Oh, well, no. What do? I say, hey, sources are saying that on Wednesday, a man in a purple polka dot shirt went into the bank, right? And made that chopper sing. Because the details, fine. It's plausible deniability. But the big details I get right? You guys saw that in the Diddy trial. The big details I got right. The little stuff, what day it was, that's something you throw in there so your source isn't compromised. I believe that the medical examiner told TMZ that she was frozen. Now, of course, everybody knows she couldn't have been found frozen. If she was found frozen, there wouldn't be a smell. She was in an impound lot for 6 days. There wouldn't have been a smell coming from the car if she was really frozen. However, what do I think the truth of that is? An autopsy can clearly establish whether somebody has been frozen and then defrosted. Okay? You don't have to be frozen at the moment. They can tell through analysis whether the body was ever frozen after death. They can even tell if freezing was the cause of death. So I think at one point, she actually was frozen. Why? Because they can't establish even a 3-6. There's no way a human body wasn't just like disintegrated to utter pulp if she hadn't been frozen. So I think that was the lie that TMZ put on the real evidence, that there was evidence that she was frozen, but she was not actually found frozen. And I think that's why the police are like, she wasn't frozen when she was found. Yeah, but I think the autopsy report says that she was frozen at some time. Now, let's get into the whole dismembered thing. What do I think is true? Listen, love or hate TMZ, when it comes to their sources in law enforcement, particularly the LAPD, the LAFD, emergency services, they are always spot on. They have LA on lock with their sources. I find it very, very unlikely that TMZ would just run with this willy-nilly narrative without having a credible source. And their sources are deep and many and thorough, and especially in the LA area. Going back to dismembered, a 5'2" girl cannot fit in the front Tesla without dismemberment. Okay, I'm trying to be respectful, but get around the like YouTube community guidelines. So I don't, I'm not being disrespectful. I'm just trying to whatever, right? But when you get into her being, it would have to be, because there's no other way she could fit into a front trunk of a Tesla. More importantly, there were reports that she was decapitated, right? People are coming out and say, that's a lie. The police actually, even though they put a gag order on the autopsy because they don't want anybody to know, which it has been proven that when they do not have any suspects and there's no movement, releasing the cause of death sometimes does pump new life into the investigation and help either the people that did it rat on each other or people come forward. And the police were so quick to say, she wasn't decapitated. Okay, But you didn't say she wasn't dismembered, because even if you look at the logistics, she had to be dismembered in some way, shape, or form. You feel what I'm saying? You feel what I'm saying? All right. So we have that. We have like the we have that. We have the dismembered. There had to be something going on. Maybe the head was attached, but there was a torso. There was a Hello Kitty. Again, LAPD are moving weird. Because let me tell you something. We all know that the LAPD and their history with Black people, especially Black men. The LAPD found a body in a Black man's car who's rich and successful. Well, I don't know how rich, but definitely successful, right? In an affluent, largely white neighborhood. And this is a girl that he, at worst, dated, at best, had a weird muse-like friendship thing where she was always around. And you never even bothered to question that person? Yeah, something's going on. And people are saying that the coroner might be the one ringing the bell because maybe they see the LAPD. Now, I was talking to my good friend today, and she was just like, yeah, but I don't get it. Like, why would the LAPD be trying to help David? Like, David's not like Diddy. Diddy was a billionaire that ran the whole city of LA. David's not like Diddy. So why would they be covering up? Well, let me just say this. Remember when, I think it was in the San Francisco Bay Area, where a police department, people actually got in trouble because they were involved in a child sex trafficking ring. And there was one girl that was supposed to be rescued from the sex trafficking ring, and they actually turned her into like the pass. They turned her into the pass around the office, and they were also getting their cut, traumatizing, doing everything else. Again, a lot of places when there are weird rings, and I'm not even being, because you can Google this happened, where there are weird rings, the police know about it on some. They have somebody on the inside. I'm not saying the whole police department, but they have somebody on the inside. If you take David out the situation, who knows what happened to Celeste? And when I say we know what happened to her, but who knows who did it? But we don't know the room she was in, the Hollywood party she went to, what David had her in, what the police knew. I think it's odd that somebody that ran away 2 times, the police wouldn't even go and bring her back home, and were ignoring her family. I think it's odd that TMZ had to get involved and say, hey, the S on the finger, you should test. And then they brought the mom, and the LAPD was still like, well, we don't know. We can't tell if it's a man or a woman. And it seems like the LAPD is operating as David's defense team. You know what I'm saying? So anyway, I would say to you, maybe they're not covering up for David, but we need to know more about the cause of Celeste's death to piece the puzzle together. And right now, the LAPD seems to be doing a piss poor job, even so much as not interviewing, questioning the person whose car that has a gore fetish and had a tour where he was literally, and videos where he was fantasizing about chopping somebody up, had a tour with a coffin, had a song named Celeste, I killed you, and I didn't even care, right? And I didn't even care, and dropped it and was obsessed and was living in some capacity, it appears, from all the information on the internet, with a little girl, literally. That doesn't deserve a questioning, but you want to shut down the coroner? Why? Why indeed? It could have been a whole bunch of people that did it. All right. Question David, arrest him if the story doesn't hold up, and then we'll work on getting the other people. Right? We'll work on getting the other people. In what world? Now, let me just say this is completely unfounded. And when I say unfounded, nobody was willing to give me cold hard proof. But there are people that are actually whispering. There are a lot of people that are actually whispering that David was 20. His popularity was skyrocketing. He was around rooms he would never have a chance to be in. He was around women that he would never have a chance to be in. And all of a sudden, this opportunity. People are saying that, as with most 20-year-olds, there's a possibility that David was not faithful to Celeste. And at the end of the day, when you have a child around you, like, how hard is it to tell a child, shut up and go to your room and you're not getting ice cream for dinner? I'm not even joking. I think this is why people go like that level of control. But David may not have been the most faithful to Celeste. And if he wasn't, it opens up the conversation about, well, if he was cheating, was he cheating with a woman his own age? Because if he wasn't faithful to Celeste, but he liked girls that looked like Celeste in the mind, in the body, thought like Celeste in the mind, and reacted like Celeste in age, then what's the odds that Celeste is the only Celeste? Do you get what I'm saying? Now, that could be, but even then, if they would share information with the Reddit thread, then, it is what it is. It's very, very, all I'm trying to say is it's suspicious. It's very interesting. It's very suspicious. And, I do not trust in this day and age, from what we've even seen play out on such a high level politically, I don't put this ish past anyone, because say what you want, but the epilator files, right? Because for some reason they're doing shadow ban on that word. The epilator files, those files that everybody's talking about, if you had told anybody 10 years ago that they existed and they went to the highest government, not just in our Democrat and Republican, not just Democrat and Republican, but around the world, and the deep money from Lex Wessner with Victoria's Secret to the Amber Copy, if you had connected all the dots 10 years ago, you would have got laughed out of the Thanksgiving table. They would have thought that you were insane. And now look, it's worse than we thought. If you had told anybody about Diddy 10 years ago, who would have believed that? Who would have honestly believed that? Exactly. So I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that at this point, we cannot put our trust in institutions. And I think only a fool would not acknowledge that the LAPD is moving odder than we've ever seen them move before. We have never seen them lock down a case like this. We have never seen them lock down autopsy results. We have never seen the police, before they even had the autopsy results, saying, we think it was an OD. It was probably an OD. And honestly, it's not even a crime. It's not even a crime. It's not even a crime to take a dead body and hide it. So, we don't even know if a crime's committed. Again, this could be the LAPD's way of trying to smoke them out and make them feel more comfortable. But if that is it, no, y'all got to change direction. You got to change direction, because it's not working. It's not working. You are not dealing with someone. It's not working. You're not dealing with someone that's nervous. That's what makes it scary. Why I think that if he did do this, he's probably a little serial killer. Either he's done it before, or he's going to do it again. Because you're not shaken. It's kind of like giving somebody the silent treatment. Once you see that they're not phased, okay, you need to change it. No more silent treatment. Now start being like, yo, tell me the truth. Tell me the truth. But again, if they're doing this to get inside his mind, it's not working. He's not inside the mind. He's not working. He's not inside the mind. He's not inside the mind at all. He's not inside the mind at all. And I would even argue that whoever did this, and I think the evidence points to, obviously, the man of the hour, I think that whoever did this, they planned this out. I believe they Googled how to make somebody untraceable in an autopsy. I think the only thing that he did not count on is that she was honestly a little girl, and as much control as he thought he had over her, she still, like most little girls do, kept in touch with her family. Maybe not her mom, maybe it was beef, maybe not, I don't even know if she had sisters, but her cousin, who was a minor at that time, she kept in touch with a few of her friends. And I don't think David knew that. I think David was like, yo, don't tell everybody don't cut off control. If you want to be with me, you got to cut off complete. And she was like, no, yes. But then, she was still talking to her friends, laughing with friends, and talking to her big cousin. So when she went missing, think about it. If Celeste's mom had never called TMZ, we wouldn't even know that was Celeste. They said they couldn't even tell if it was man or woman. I think that whoever did this didn't count on the fact that Celeste still had It might have been very sporadic. It might have been very contentious, might have been very toxic, but she still had ties to her home. And I think that they were fine to check in every now and then and know she's okay. And I think what rang the alarm bells was when maybe she checked in every 4 or 5 months, they didn't hear from her at all. And that's when they got scared. And that's when they started looking and they were scouring stuff. Again, I think that whoever did this, 100%, and when I say 100%, I mean 120%, I believe they planned this. They checked to see how to mutilate, to make it autopsy high, how to dismember, how to hide, how to tie things up, how to make things airtight, how to freeze. I think they all did. I think whoever it is, whoever the people are, I think that's exactly what happened. But hold on, let's get into this. One second. Let me press play because there's more information. This is Matt Tilbau on, I can't pronounce his last name. Let me spell it for you. M-A-T-T, and then his last name is Thibodeau. Thibodeau? Anyway, check him out on Twitter and on TikTok, but let's get into some more what he's saying.
When it comes to what they shared yesterday about Celeste's body being partially frozen and dismembered when found in David's trunk. So someone who claims that they worked at the facility where Celeste Rivas Hernandez's body was sent to be processed after she was found has spoken out. And while what they're saying is somewhat similar to what TMZ was sharing yesterday, it's not exactly the same.
So remember when I said I think TMZ is changing key facts to protect their source, but the bulk of what they're saying is correct. Keep that in mind as you listen to this, right?
This person said that when Celeste was brought to this specific facility, she weighed approximately 90 pounds according to paperwork, and she was in a severely decomposed, mummified state. They said that she was brought to this facility in one piece and that she had a full body bag. This person also said that
Now, I don't know where he would get this from, but I'm not, and he might be right, but even 90 pounds shows that maybe her end, if you're 5'2" and you're 90 pounds, it shows that police are saying 71 pounds. They're saying 90 pounds. It shows that maybe her end wasn't it was tragic.
A viscera bag. If you don't know what that is, I'll put a screenshot on the screen right here. I'm not going to go into that. And it says that based on the evidence that the autopsy showed, it does indicate that she was kept in a cool place at one point, but not necessarily frozen. After Celeste's autopsy was performed.
Well, let me just say this. She was found in fall, I believe. For them to say she was kept in a cool place, but not necessarily frozen, unless it's a walk-in refrigerator or a freezer. Like, this is Southern California in September. And what cool place exists in Southern California in the middle of summer? That's all I'm saying.
This person said that she was transported to the Cavalry mortuary where her body was worked on and prepared for her services. She was then transported to Queen of Heaven for burial, where her family had a closed casket for services. This person also says that the reason Celeste's information was removed from the medical examiner's website was due to the amount of calls that they were receiving about Celeste. People were posing as family members, people were posing as lawyers, trying to get inside information out of them, and it was just becoming too much. So did TMZ misinterpret something?
Okay, now let me just call cap on that. There is no way that people are posing as family members and people are posing as lawyers, and that's why you locked this down, because they had even more interest with the Matthew Perry case. And at the end of the day, the police have the family members' numbers, and I'm sure they have the lawyers' numbers, and they can directly call them back saying, "What's your name? I'll call you back." So for them saying they did something so unprecedented because they had a lot of fake calls, at the end of the day, like, how many lawyers and family members can you have? And it's very, very, very easy to verify. And so it doesn't make any sense. It really honestly doesn't make any sense.
Jump to conclusions with limited information that they were given, and in return share things that were not entirely accurate to this case? Or is it possible that this person who's claiming to have worked at the facility where Celeste's body was processed may just not know everything? I don't know. You guys take that.
Again, so they're saying the facility where a body was processed, I assume that was the city morgue. And then with the thing, but even with her body processed and the mummified, that doesn't make any sense. Because let me just say one thing. The police did say when the body was found in David's Tesla, and this before we even knew it was Celeste, that they could not tell whether that was a man or a woman. They said they couldn't tell whether it was a man or a woman, and the police issued something saying that the body was dismembered and they couldn't tell whether it was man or woman. If that was the case, and this is what they first said, before we even knew it was Celeste, I would just counter this person saying she was in one piece and heavily mummified. If somebody's mummified, you can tell whether somebody is a man or a woman if someone's mummified. Even if they're heavily mummified. Even just like with the pelvic bone, you can tell. You can tell. Even with the, and there's another thing. They said they couldn't tell whether it was man or female. I'm sorry, man or woman. You can tell by skull size whether somebody is a female or a man. A lot of the times. I'm not saying that she was, Ichabod Crane. I am saying that, yeah. Anyways, continue.
How you will. This is obviously becoming increasingly frustrating. What are you guys thinking? Let me know in the comments. All right, guys. So is TMZ
okay, so there's one more. Hold on, guys.
Source.
There's one more video. Sorry, there's one more video I want to play.
Partially frozen.
Hold on.
Dismembered.
There's one more. 1 second. Let me just change this video really quick. And then we'll get into, I think this is it, right? Okay. Listen to this video.
I keep getting tagged in these photos and videos of Celeste at David's concert in June. People keep saying, not everyone is realizing that this screenshot, this video, is from the same exact night that this video was taken. It was June of 2024, not June of 2025. So it doesn't help narrow our timeline down as far as when Celeste Rivas Hernandez was last seen alive, but it does actually highlight the fact that there may have been knowledge amongst David's friend group that Celeste was, 1, missing, and 2, a child. And the reason why I feel this way is because Celeste was at the Fonda Theater at David's show in Los Angeles, California last year. She was hanging around his little brother. We have proof of that right here. We have proof of her standing next to one of David's friends right here. Yet in the group photos where David takes pictures with his group behind the scenes while he's not performing, Celeste is left out of every single picture. Even in photos that David's little brother were in, Celeste, while she was there at the show, was not in the photos. Now
which to me shows motive operandi. You knew that if that little girl showed up in your pictures, people would start asking questions. You knew that she looked young. I would argue he knew her exact age. But more than that, I believe this shows motive operandi. They knew that Celeste was on the missing kids list. And if Celeste showed up in any of his photos, her family would be like, there she is. We have proof she is in that man. Again, Celeste always had to wear hoods. Celeste always had to hide herself. She had to dress like a little boy. She had to be in the corner. She could never be in official photos. The police are saying, we don't know if a crime was committed. What about harboring a runaway, a minor? I'm pretty sure that's illegal. And this shows to me your modus operandi, that you did not want anyone to know that she was with you, and that you knew that if she did surface with you, it would be big problems.
People were talking about Josh Marshall and the fact that he was David's manager and he had to have known all of this. But obviously we found out that Josh lives in a different state and he really was not working with David face to face as much as we think, if ever. But you know who was working with?
Okay, they're saying as much as we think ever. That might be true. I do think that guy's, oh, my family's upset, and oh yeah, and all the people, his response was incredibly callous. And you would think that as somebody you were managing, and that you would have more to say. Now, we are not saying that this guy was around David a lot or even at all. But if he was even once and he met Celeste, what's good? Like, what's good? But you know what the funny thing is? Have the police questioned him? Have the police questioned anybody on David's side? It's looking like the answer is actually No. Also, I want to give a shout out really quick to M.E. Nash. You said thanks for staying on this, T. So you're welcome, M.E. Nash. We have to figure out what is actually going on. Okay, so then there's this. Hold on, we're in the middle of it. Thank you, M.E. Nash.
David all the time. His tour manager, Rob. And Rob is a beloved person in David's circle. He is referenced many times in David's Discord. The kids in this Discord love Rob. And everyone in David's Discord knew Rob to be David's manager. There was no reference of Josh Marshall anywhere in this Discord.
Okay, so maybe Josh Marshall's innocent, but my question to the police is, have you questioned Josh Marshall? There's a lot of people walking around that haven't been questioned. He could have, and maybe he is innocent. I'm not even trying to even say that he is guilty. I'm just saying, what does he know? And did the police question and extract all the information he could from him? And I'm not talking about that TikTok post, the comment he put up on TikTok. Yeah, great. But have you talked to police under penalty of perjury to get into the obstruction of justice? You see what I'm saying?
Says Rob over David. Yeah, you can read this one for yourself. Mind you, this is a kid. Someone says, I'm low-key kind of scared of Rob. And someone else says, I love Rob. This person says, Rob is a Tommy. They were talking about a show that David had. And someone says, I should have gone just to meet Rob. Someone says, I dabbed David up and met Rob. Someone else responds, I wish I met Rob. And someone else says, he's the GOAT. Another person says, at least I got to see Rob on stage. Someone says, Rob tapped me on the shoulder in line.
So they knew
he liked my merch.
They knew Rob.
Another person says, I seen Rob walk past me a few times. He had so much aura. I don't know why the others didn't get blasted by his aura wave. This is some pretty big aura, you guys. I mean, I've never seen aura emit such fluorescence, such brightness, such puffiness in my life. One person highlights the fact that Rob can fix things and get you right. Another person says Rob is mad chill.
Rob can fix things. And mind you, with these Discord, now we don't know if these are minors in David's Discord, because just because Celeste was a little kid doesn't mean that like all his fans were Celeste's age, right? It is interesting is that Rob is mad chill. He gave me and my friend free VIP too, so he can fix things. Was Rob the fixer that got Celeste her IDs?
He gave my friend free VIP too. Another weird message coming from a kid who's interacted with Rob at a past show you could pause to read. And yes, Rob has Discord, and yes, he is in David's Discord. This is his user right here in the group. One person even says Rob is 31 and talks like he's 13. It's so funny. Rob was the one who was able to get a PJ ordered for David in between shows while he was on tour earlier this year. Rob is at every single show that David performs at, and he's aware of every single person that David is bringing into these shows. And he needs to know their ages because some of these events that they attend afterwards are 18 up. And I know a lot of people are going to say that she had fake IDs, but there were so many events that David was at with his friend group.
But if she got fake IDs, you cannot tell me a runaway 12, 13-year-old with no job and no income and no connections found a way to get a multiple of fake IDs.
And there are photos of everyone at these events, and Celeste is not in any of them. A couple of people in David's circle stated that they knew that David and Celeste were an item that they were dating, but they didn't know that Celeste was underage. They thought she was 18, but none of them
Okay, they thought she was 18. All right, girl.
seemed to bat an eye over the fact that Celeste was excluded from every single group photo that David took, that she didn't attend any 18 and up event with David as his girlfriend. Now, remember this whole email that was sent to David's management team about David being involved with Celeste, an underage missing 13-year-old, and Josh Marshall denied it. He said he had no idea what these claims were about. He never received an email. But the day after this email was sent to David's management, Celeste returned back home. And the email very clearly was sent to David's management. Well, you know who actually has access to this specific email?
Who?
Mr. Rob right here, who works as a general manager at Mogul Vision. I don't think that we should be blaming anyone without facts, but if we have to go based off of who is around David the most, who was in his Discord having access to all of these messages, who has access to know who David is bringing in and out of these shows, it's going to be his tour manager, Rob, who was with him most of the time. Hopefully we do get some more information when it comes to this case very soon. You guys know that I'm following this very closely, and as soon as updates come out, you can find them here on my page. What are your guys' thoughts on all of this? Let me know in the comments. So guys,
Okay, so we have that when it comes to the David case. And this is one thing that I actually want to leave this right here for you guys to actually discuss, and for us to discuss. For instance, where is it? Hold on, I had an article all queued up, but basically, an LAPD captain reveals what cops saw when Celeste Rivers was found in David's car. I find it odd that they put a media blockade, but now they're leaking information. Why? Just give us the official report. They said that he's debunking rumors surrounding her remains. You don't have to debunk rumors. Just give us the autopsy report. They said Celeste was not frozen and was not as previously reported by local media. I don't believe local media said she was actually frozen. I think they said, because nobody's dumb enough to think that a frozen body, but I think what they said was she had been frozen and that she was dismembered. All right. Also, they said even if she had been frozen solid when she was put in the car, which there's no evidence to suggest she was, 5 or more weeks in the trunk of the car and and they said even if she was frozen solid, not chilled, not kept in a cold location, but frozen solid, right? 5 or more weeks in the trunk of a car in sweltering heat in the middle of summer would not have resulted in a partially frozen body being discovered September 8th. She's been dead for a while, but do they actually know how long she was in that trunk? I'm serious. Because this is another reason I have issue with the LAPD. We know that she was found in the trunk. Does anybody know how long she was actually in that trunk? See, we're assuming she was put in a trunk and then parked on the street with the car. How do we know the car wasn't parked on the street and she wasn't bought out? Like the car was in the garage in David's house. They bought from the walk-in freezer into the car and then backed the car out and parked the car on the street for somebody else to pick up. Do you know what I'm saying? Anyway, they're also saying that David has not been cooperative. How can you be cooperative when he never tried to question them? David said he was fully cooperating. They said no records, as you guys know, or details associated with the case, including the cause or manner of death and medical exam report, can be released or posted on the website until further notice. Okay, so yeah, we have what we have. It's very odd, very strange, very everything. But you know what? Listen, listen. Here's what I do want to say. I do believe that she was dismembered because you cannot fit somebody 5'2" in the Tesla front trunk just in full. You know what I'm saying? You just can't. In any case, you guys, listen, I'm going to go live later on to talk about the other revelations. But for right now, let me get out of here. There are new updates actually coming in. People are talking about Stephen Fisher. I'm going to go live later on to talk about the melee that's going on with Stephen Fisher, Discords, David mods, and what's going on Twitter. Again, I know whenever there's an investigation, there's a lot of infighting. And that's not to say anybody is right or wrong, but it is to say that there's actually really weird stuff going on. That's all. All right. That's all. And I'm going to bring it to you guys' attention. Anyway, you guys, listen, let me know what you think in the comments. I'll try to go live later on tonight. We are going to get part 2 of the Danish deception. If you guys are into that stuff. And I will talk to you guys later. Oh, and I'm going to be posting videos today. You guys are